Okay, Algebra 1, I have posted the practice questions for your performance assessment tomorrow on the blog. So make sure that you first go to the blog and do the 4 practice questions as best you can, and then come back to the video and watch the video to see if you got your questions right. So again, first thing I want you to do is do them on your own and then come back and watch instead of watching to see how I do them. It'd be better practice for you to have done them on your own first. So we'll start with number 1. Ben decided to sell sushi at lunch for $5, and Peyton thought this was a good idea, so he decided to sell sushi too, but he charged $8. Ben's cost for ingredients was $60, while Peyton spent $72 on ingredients. How many lunches would each of them have to sell to make a profit? So that's one question we need to answer. We need to write 2 inequalities that represent each situation. And then the last thing it wants to know is after how many lunches would Ben and Peyton have collected the same amount of money. So the first thing that we need to do is we'll go ahead and write those 2 inequalities that represent each situation. And remember, when you're doing profit, you've got to go over whatever it would be to break even. So Ben is selling them for $5 each, but he spent $60. So that $60 is a one-time thing that he paid, and so that's going to be minus 60 because we need to take that off his profit. So we'll say that Y is his profit, and that's got to be greater than 5 times X, which would be the number of lunches that he sold, and then minus the 60 that he spent on the ingredients. So this is Ben's equation. And so Peyton's equation would be very similar. Y would be his profit, and it needs to be greater than 8X, 8 times the number of lunches he sold, and then minus the 72 he spent on it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and graph these and see at what point do each of these lines hit the 0 mark. And if we want them to be making a profit, we need to go into past 0 to see how many lunches it would take to be making a profit. We don't just want them to break even, but to make a profit. So I'm going to do this on the next page, and I've got it set up so it should work out right. Y is greater than 5X minus 60 is Ben's equation. So I've done a graph right here so you can see that here are my axes like this, and down here is negative 60, so I'm going to put a dot on negative 60 to show how much he makes when he's sold 0 lunches. Okay, and it's up 5 and over 1, so these go by 10, so I'm going to be going halfway through here. So up 5 and over 1 would be a dot right there, and then up 5 and over 1, he'd now be down $50. And so for 3 would be here, and 4 here, 5 there, whoops, and then 6 would be here, 7 in the middle of those, 8 would be at the negative 20, 9 at negative 15, 10 at negative 10, 11 at negative 5, and 12 would be right at the 0. So that means that in order to make a profit, he would need to sell 1 more. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So for Ben to make a profit, Ben needs to sell 13 lunches. Okay, so does that make sense? Because at 12, he would just be breaking even. He would not have made any money yet. So he wants to sell 13, and then he would have made $5. So let's do Peyton's equation. We'll do it on the same graph. And I could connect those dots and draw an arrow, but I'm not going to because you know it won't be straight. And Peyton's equation is Y is greater than 8X minus 72. Now, my graph isn't very friendly, but I've got the numbers all figured out. So I'm going to give you ones that will have friendly numbers tomorrow. Negative 72 would be about right here. So for his first dot, it would be up 8 and over 1, which would give us about negative 64. So it'd be about right there. And then we go up 8 again and over 1 again, and we'd be at around negative 56. Up 8 and over 1 again would be negative 48, so that's about under here. This one's at negative 45, by the way. And then up 8 and over 1 would be negative 40, and that is the point where they coincide, and that's one of the questions that wanted to know. But we're going to keep going until we get to 0 for Peyton. So up 8 and over 1 again is at 32, so that's going to be about, this is it. That was at the 4, by the way. So F8 over 1 again is at 32, so that's going to be about right there. F8 over 1 again gives you 24, about in the middle there. And now doing F8 over 1 again gives us about 16. One more time would be -8, and then one more time would give us at 9. It would hit right at 9, and that makes sense because 9 times 8 is 72, which is what we started at. So Peyton would be breaking even at 9 lunches, so in order to make a profit, Peyton needs to sell 10 lunches. Okay, so we went one past it to be in profit, and after Peyton sold 10, he'd be making $8. So, so now let's go back to the other question, which was at what point will they have, made the same amount of money? Okay, and it's worded on the blog a little differently than what I just said. Let me see. At what point would their profits be the same? Well, after 4 lunches, they're not really in profits yet, but they would both be, it would be equal. They would now both be at -$40. So even though it's not really profit, that's the point at which their what they earn or what they owe is the same. It'll be something similar to that. It may be into the profit, it may be before we get to the profit, but at one point they're going to cross, and that's going to be the question I'm going to ask. Okay, so there's that question. I think we've answered everything for that one, so we'll move on to the next one. Whoops. All right. Season tickets to the theater are $30 for each show, plus a registration fee of $50. Season tickets to the orchestra are $40 each, plus a $20 registration fee. So we're going to write an equation to represent each situation. So again, the registration fee, that's a one-time thing. You're only going to pay it once. You're not going to pay it for each show. That's your y-intercept. So that means that y is going to be just how much are you going to pay, okay? So it's $30 for each show, so that's 30x, because x will be the number of shows. And then plus the registration fee means we've got to tack that price onto it, plus 50. And Alejandra had a good question today about why isn't that minus 50? And that's because y over here is going to represent how much this person is going to be paying. Okay, we're not doing profits this time, so we're not starting out with, we're not wanting to earn money, and we start out with owing money. This time we're going to be, all of this is spending money. We're spending $50 on the fee, and then we're going to spend $30 per ticket. So the y at the end is going to be how much was spent in total. Now looking at the orchestra equation, the tickets are $40 each, so we'll write the same kind of thing. So it would be 40x for $40 for each ticket, and then plus a $20 registration fee, so it's not as expensive for them. Okay, so we're going to write an equation just to that. So how much would it cost to see 10 theater productions? So, and then 10 orchestra productions. Well, if the x is the number of tickets you buy, so we're going to put 10 in for x in each equation, and then just find out what the cost would be. So y would equal 30 times the 10 plus 50 would mean that for the theater productions it would be 300 plus 50. You'd be spending $350, $30 for each of those tickets, each of those 10 tickets, and then plus 50 more dollars. So that's $350. You'll probably just think about that in your head and get it. Looking at the orchestra tickets, if they're $40 a piece, then that means if we're going to do 10 of them, then we're going to say 40 times 10 plus 20, so we'd have 400 plus $20, so it'd be $420 for 10 tickets. Okay, so there's that. Now, after how many shows would the cost be the same? To do this one, we definitely would want to put them on a graph, so I'm going to pull a graph over and we'll try to graph it real quick. So I'm going to pause and I'll be right back. Okay, so to do the theater tickets, it's 30x plus 50. I'm going to go down by 10s on my y-axis, or it's going to go by 10s on my y-axis, so I would go up 50, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and I just realized that I don't think this is going to be enough room on this. And then we go up 30 over 1. Yep, I'm not going to have room, so I'm going to move this aside. Let's see if I can do this quickly. Okay, so if we do this, because we don't need the x-axis, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90. Okay, I'm running out of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this in another video. I'll write down the equations, and I'll have another video to show how we would find out at what point the shows would cost the same. So just watch the end of this. I mean, this is over in just a second, so just watch the next video.